Y'all, we got to be really, really careful. We got to be really, really careful of people that puff themselves up image wise. Because it's not to say that, and I don't like to do the whole like you're a good person versus bad person. Because I honestly believe everybody has everything in them. You know what I mean? Like everybody is capable of evil, everybody is capable of good. Um like even a narcissist is capable of appearing good. Even a narcissist, a sociopath, a psychopath, they're all capable of appearing good, of doing kind acts. You know what I mean? So you can't like really quantify someone's character based on like just, a few good acts or like a positive statement, a positive phrase, a quote, a speech. You can't quantify somebody's goodness by that. And honestly, I don't even know what really makes someone a good person overall when I say stuff like that, because you could do all the great things and then be a rapist on the side. And that just, to me, that negates all the good things that you have done. I don't know. It's weird, when it comes to like good versus bad. It's very weird, you know what I mean? Because I'd be like, "Oh, okay, so you thought because you had a church and you saved souls that them girls you was raping, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be playing none of that. I wouldn't. So I can't speak for God. But I just know that when it comes to good versus bad or goodness, or you know what I mean? Like, it's just such a weird phenomenon. It's to think about, like, what makes a person good versus what makes them bad. But regardless, like, when you understand how someone was brought up and how that impacts their dynamics with the rest of the world, it helps you to understand them better. And that understanding doesn't always necessarily mean that because you understand them that they will come around to changes. That takes deep self-work on their own, and a lot of people are not willing to even get that deep or even address what they feel to even uncover, you know what I mean, the depth of what's the root of it. Like, a lot of people are not willing to get deep into their own healing, and that's why they don't change. So understanding it really should be limited to, there should be boundaries for how you express and you implement your understanding when it comes to dynamics with people. Because, and this is why it's hard to quantify a good person, because maybe a good person would be the kind of person that's just honest, you know what I mean, that's transparent. It may not be that they're perfect, they're just transparent. Like, you're transparent about all your imperfections, and in that transparency you are making people aware of where you fall short. And you know what I mean, you're like, if you're willing to work with me, you're willing to work with me. If not, then not. That's cool. And that gives people the choice to decide, okay, like, is this something I can do? And then even with that, like, people can change their mind and like realize, okay, I thought this was something I can do and I can't. I don't know. It's like, transparency is just like, it just gives another level of choice, of freedom. And when you lie to people, you take away that freedom, you take away that choice, and you make them subject to you without really knowing who you are. And I think for me, that's like one of the qualities I would say, not as like a bad person, but as someone who I personally would not engage with or not be around. I don't like when people constantly lie, especially about like who they are, their image, their perception. They have this one side. Oh, okay, this is who I want people to see me as, but like, this is who I really am. I don't like that. I've had to, but the thing is too, is like, why are they like that? Because then there's like, there could be the people who lie because they were raised in a specific religion and it's strict, and that's not who they really want to be. Like, people who are gay and they can't talk about it, they can't tell anybody because the world they grew up in is just too strict for them, and like, they're just too afraid to break out of that. Or like someone who, I don't know, there's just so many different lifestyles where like, maybe the repercussions of you living your truth impact a lot of people around you. Like pedophiles. If pedophiles would just live their truth outright, like, that impacts people around them. Like, that doesn't make you a good person just because you can be transparent. So like, there's levels to it. Like, that's why I'm like, goodness versus badness is just too like people try to make it seem like it's so black and white, and it's not black and white at all. It's not black and white at all. There's so much that contributes to why a person is who they are. And even in being a liar, some people are liars because they're trying to protect themselves from, like, you know what I mean? Like, a gay person growing up in a Mormon, or, you know what I'm saying, like some sort of cult where, like, they're on a farm and they can't tell nobody who they really are. They just gotta, like, fake that for their whole lives. They're probably the only one that even knows they're a liar, but even just that knowing probably eats them up inside, and it doesn't feel good. But it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just using example, like extreme case examples, you know, of a situation where just because a person is a liar, they're not necessarily a bad person. Or like because a person is telling the truth, they're not necessarily a good person. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not all black and white. It's not. And so many people I know around me make things out to be so super black and white. Oh, if you're a cheater, you're a bad person. Well, what if they were forced into a marriage that they never wanted to participate in, but that's the way of their culture and their religion, and they loved someone else? Do they not have the freedom and autonomy over their own, you know, heart to be like, this is, I never wanted this, but they didn't have the choice to get out of it. So, like, think about marriages that happened during, like, you know, times where women were pretty much signed over as property to men because their fathers were not wealthy enough to sustain their house, and they needed the dowry from, you know what I'm saying? Like, they were being exchanged as property, and they had their hearts somewhere else, or they didn't want to marry that person. Like, if they cheat, are they bad people? They're not there of their own volition. You know what I mean? So, like, not everybody, for every single circumstance where something is considered a bad thing, is negative, or not every single thing where something is considered a good thing is positive. Like, there's just so many nuances to, like, good and bad. And I know I started with Diddy, and how I arrived here is kind of crazy, but all I'm saying is discernment is very real. Intuition is very real. And sometimes with discernment, you need the proof to assess, okay, I've seen this, I've experienced this. Because of this experience, I'm not going to move in this specific way. Intuition negates all that. It doesn't need experience. Intuition just speaks. Intuition just says, yeah, nah. Yeah, nah. Get up out of there. You don't need to see anything. You don't need to view anything. You don't need to experience anything. You don't need to witness anything. You don't even need to smell nothing, breathe it in. Just go. Just go. And when you override your intuition because you think you need to utilize discernment, you're literally like, overriding like that Holy Spirit within you. And I say Holy Spirit because however you want to phrase it, your higher self, your inner knowing, you know, whatever it is that you know, that you feel guided, like something is literally you know, like when something told me grab my keys and you didn't. Like, you are overriding your intuition every time you do that. And the more and more you do that, because these things are all exercises, when you exercise overriding your intuition, like, you start literally living out the consequences of overriding your intuition. And it really sucks, because the whole point of intuition is so that when you don't have enough evidence, you don't have enough discernment to really, like, be a guide to you, you can just know. You can just know. And the thing is, you can just know. Like, we are connected to source. Source is source, you know what I mean, of all things. And source knows all things. It is connected to all things to know all things. So you don't have to experience to know. You can just know, but you have to stop overriding intuition. You have to be like, I'm going to lock in and listen. And sometimes you might notice, like, 3 times in a row. I always notice, like, if I've ignored intuition, like, just little things 3 times in a row that week, I already know the 4th thing I better not ignore. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because at that point, there's a consequence to follow. It might be like, oh, like something light, like Spirit said, bring your water bottle today. And I didn't bring my water bottle, and the whole day I go thirsty. I may not even need 2 more times to learn my lesson. That one instance, because the whole day I went thirsty, I'm like, I learned my lesson. I'm bringing the water next time. Or whatever spirit says, I'm going to listen. So sometimes I don't want to because it feels like an inconvenience. Like if I have to go back upstairs and grab one extra key or do one extra thing. But like those are the little exercises that strengthen your intuition and your connection overall to your higher self to know more things without needing to stretch and expand your discernment to know. Anyway, such a crazy place that we landed here. I wasn't expecting to be here at all. Okay. I will add that sometimes intuition comes to us because we are in territory where we have never been able to expand our experience in this area. And so because of it, it's so new, it's so fresh. You don't know anyone else you can even turn to in this moment. You just have to trust your inner guide. And you might have felt like, you want to research this online or, ask ChatGPT or YouTube it or TikTok. You want insight on it because you want real, like, genuine advice, real direction. But sometimes intuition comes in so you don't even have to, like let's say you had this dream job. This dream job is to work as an actress. And you start working as an actress, but now you're around a lot of different types of people in this career. And, you're getting invitations to go places and do things. And you're just kind of confused about, like, how you want to brand yourself. You're like, dang, do I want to be in the crowd with everyone and, get to know people and network? Or do I want to be the party girl? Or do I want to kind of remain isolated and, like, what's best for me? Does remaining isolated ruin opportunities for me? Or, like, if I'm the party girl, will that ruin my reputation? Or, if I'm focused just on networking, will they think I have no fun? Like, and you're too concerned about how everybody's going to perceive you and not enough concerned about what your actual intentions are and how the best forward movement can be aligned with your intention. Sometimes intuition just steps in to be like, don't go, show up. And then you'll notice too, where like, if you are overriding intuition and it's something serious, there'll be blocks. There'll be like genuine blocks where it's like, you might be like, yeah, I'm going to go to that party. And then you have a flat tire because you were overriding intuition. And intuition was like, listen, we know you don't know, but we know. So we sent you the information. You ignored it. So don't worry. We took matters further into our own hands. Just become aware of even stuff like that. Like, so let that be a part of the journaling task too. Like when certain situations arise, sorry, there is something in my lens and I want to know what it is. When something arrives and is packaged as new levels, new territory, and you have no idea what the next first step is, that's oftentimes where you have to just get still and listen to intuition. And sometimes intuition will be screaming at you, and sometimes it really wants you to like come into the quiet with it so that you can like hear it because it's too much noise around you and you have to like become still to listen. Sometimes it'll just be there. Sometimes it'll literally just be like, hello. And sometimes it's like, psst, hey, come here. Get you. Come here. So use your discernment to listen to your intuition. I'm going to end it with this. Try to strengthen your intuition this week by listening to just, I don't even want to say one thing. Everything you hear, just listen to it. Everything you hear, just listen to it. And try and journal everything. That's the homework. Anytime you hear like a small, like, put this here instead. Move this cup over just a little bit. Like when you hear those little knowings, and sometimes we do them and we don't even realize we're doing them. We're like, I I don't know, like a kid is walking and like something in your mind is just like they're too close to the like edge of something. So you just guide their head. Like you just put your hand next to their head, like in case they hit a sharp edge. Like just certain things like that. And that might be partial discernment because you've experienced in a past, like a sharp edge can be, you know, something that, but also it could just be inner knowing, because if you do it very quickly without thinking about it, that means you didn't even have time to process why you're doing it. You're just thinking from intuition, like, oh, afterwards, you might be like, oh, I did this because I've experienced this in the past. But in the moment, if you just move and you're not thinking about, oh, why am I doing this? That's intuition. So just practice, like, and that's why I said, like, just become more aware of little instances like that, but also practice listening to little things like, you should turn in there. You should go to this store right now. You should eat this today. You should drink that. You shouldn't eat that. You shouldn't eat that much of that. You should work out today. Like whatever the little things that you're hearing are, just try them. Just practice locking in. Practice locking in. Practice locking in with intuition. That's your assignment for today, or your assignment. And love you guys. Take care. Okay. Bye.